You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is the Waystation, your source for news and rumors, all related to Star Wars. Today is January 14th, 2024. Happy New Year to you, Mr. Ed, who's with me tonight, first and foremost. How's it going, man?
I think I made it through Hoth to get here. It is minus 32 with the wind chill factor. That's in Celsius. So I think that's minus 25 in American.
Oh my gosh.
And it is, yeah, I killed like 4 TomToms on the way here.
On the way in? I can't believe you. We should have thought about that. Sorry. I didn't realize. Yeah, that's so insensitive of me. I'm thinking, just come into the station, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Thank you for risking your life for this show. I think that's the first time anybody's done that. So definitely it's not gone unnoticed. So we'll take note of that and up your pay in some way for that. So. But no, thanks for being here. It's likewise. I mean, we're down to I know it's not the same, but in Texas right now, we are at 23 and dropping. If anybody knows anything about Texas, that's not good for us, right? We have a terrible energy grid, and we're always in the news, and it's a far city at times. So I just can't wait to see it. But I'm prepped. I've got all my generators charged. I've got food. I've got water. I've already wrap the pipes, and we winterize for just, anything below 32. So I totally get that. And sorry again, I should have thought about that before I said, hey, Ed, we're doing a show Sunday night. You got to be there. Thanks. Bye.
That's just the reality of winters where I live. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being with us tonight, especially on this first show of the new year. Of course, this is going to be a little bit different. Ed and I will be back next Sunday on the 21st to kind of pick up business as usual, as we have been, where we're going to talk about news and rumors specific and more as a larger net. Tonight's show is going to be focused on everything that you can expect to see in 2024, knock on wood, assuming nothing gets delayed. There's a lot of stuff here. There's so many things. And we've got 2 things that we're celebrating in 2024 as well. We'll get to more of that here in a little bit. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to all of our Now Part of the Tribe members and all of our Patreon members as well. But from the Now Part of the Tribe group, Rob, Mike Borda, Lauren, Dante, Riss Bayless, Justin, Jackson, Sharkman Dan, Daz, Isabella, Uncle Leon, Josh C., Jacob, and Reader Reborn, and our Delusions of Grandeur members, which are Rod, CJ, Alex, Steve, and Das. If you guys are interested in Patreon, you can head out to cantinacast.com/Patreon, sign up for as little as $2, and there's all kinds of stuff there for you that goes back years of content as well. And there was also, we had a new sign up. I forgot to make note of that. We'll catch you in the Patreon. I think her name was Christy, if I'm not mistaken, from the UK. So Christy, thanks so much for signing up. I will get your name right on the next show, and then we'll come back next week as well and get it right then. It just came in like 2 days ago. So thank you so much for your patronage. Let's see. Also, plugging what we've got, just looking ahead to shows that are coming up this week. Again, we've got right after this show, right after this, Jonesy and I will be on to do a Patreon episode where we're going to talk about the new Mando movie that was announced. We'll talk about the pros, the cons, what we can expect, and just some of the timing around this, because I think there's a lot of good discussion around it, because I think it caught all of us by surprise that this movie was even coming out specifically. So more on that on the Patreon episode. That'll be at 9 p.m. Central. I'm sorry, 10 p.m. Central. Again, right after Ed and I are finished and wrapped up here. And then later this week, Lauren and I will be back on Thursday to kick off the first episode of 3 episodes that we've got dedicated to Eye of Darkness by George Mann, which of course is the first adult novel that's releasing in Phase 3 of The High Republic. Crazy excited to talk about that. And then lastly, we have just wrapped up, Lauren and I just wrapped up our coverage of the first 4 issues, or the first, the 4 issues of Shadows of Starlight, which is all the storyline that takes place up to a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon. So it's kind of like the precursor. It's almost required reading in order to really kind of jump into Eye of Darkness, as far as our opinions go. And if you really want a more scaled down, kind of boiled down version, Lauren has just released a new video on Jedi Novel Archive, where she breaks down all 4 issues, but again, in a more condensed 30-minute kind of episode. So however you want to take your appetizer for Eye of Darkness. We've got two solutions, two options there for you on the menu. Okay, and last thing. Today is, again, January 14th, and today is Lawrence Kasdan's birthday. So this is his 74th birthday. Happy birthday to Larry Kasdan. I know he's a huge fan of this show. But man, it's crazy to think that he's like still out there and still doing stuff. Like we've been talking about, he's probably one of the more prolific, greater writers. And when you think about outside of George Lucas, because he's done Solo, Empire Strikes Back, he was brought in to do script stuff for The Force Awakens, and his baby, is Han Solo. I told Ed before on here, the way I've always looked at Lawrence Kasdan is George Lucas created a character with Episode 4, but Larry Kasdan breathed life into that character when we got to Episode 5, and that's why he's so close to him. But any thoughts on Solo or Kasdan before we get into the main show?
Yeah, I mean, like he's the one who fleshed out the most popular character. I'm going to say, yeah, Han Solo is the most popular character in the Star Wars lore, and he's the guy responsible for it. I mean, the Solo movie, there are some questionable decisions in it, I think, but for the most part, it's always, I don't know, it's still an enjoyable watch. And like what he did, fleshing him out for Empire, like, yeah, just an amazing job that he's done over the years. And I'm just looking at his IMDb and like all the other things he's done, like Wyatt Earp and The Bodyguard. He did The Bodyguard. Do you think he sang with Whitney Houston?
Yeah, that's a classic, man. Now it's a classic, which is kind of crazy to think about, but now that's how old we are. There's he directed a movie too that I think that bombed, but we're not gonna talk about that one.
No, we don't need to talk about bombs.
Yeah, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. All right. On a much more positive note, let's talk about 2024. All right. So before we get into this, I just want to, the two things that we're going to be celebrating in 2024. Of course, the Phantom Menace is we're upon the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. May 19th, 1999 was when that was released. And it was funny. I mentioned to Ed, is like, I was going through and there was nothing that was like explicitly, this celebrates the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. But when you look at most or a lot of what we have in 2024, there's a lot of stuff that has been announced and is coming out that is focused around characters or things, events around in that timeline. And so they're kind of doing a soft celebration with the releases without necessarily, punching you in the face saying, look, it's the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. I think that's still coming. Don't get me wrong. I think they're gonna definitely seize on that. But for now, it looks like it is kind of a soft release of stuff. So we've got that for 25th anniversary. And then we've got Rebels celebrating its 10th anniversary, which that was surprising too. I was like, wow, really 10 years now that's been out. So any thoughts on the either one of those anniversaries before we roll into the slideshow here?
Yeah, well, both of them. I didn't even know it was the 10-year anniversary Rebels. That caught me off guard because I was like, oh, I've just happened to be rewatching it this week. I just, my lazy moments on the couch have been rewatching Rebels. I think I'm like halfway through the 4th season right now. And Phantom Menace, it just got me thinking about, I thought it must have been 10 years ago for the 15th anniversary, but for some reason they did it for the 16th anniversary. 16 years after the original trilogy. Oh no, I'm reading the wrong thing. Anyway, there's a 3D reissue in theaters of the Phantom Menace. It was just before like the Disney deal went through. And it kind of bombed at the box office because people don't, the general public doesn't have like the best feelings about Phantom Menace. And it was like, well, why would I see like the Star Wars movie I hate the most again? Why would I pay for this again? But like watching in 3D, the way with all the green screens, it added depth. It looked less flat, when you're on Coruscant or whatever. A lot of the scenes when you're watching the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy rather, it always just kind of looks flat and it just kind of it loses that human touch. And watching it in 3D and even the pod racing, it looked so much better in 3D. So I was really hoping we'd get the other two movies in a 3D release, and we never got that because Disney was like, yeah, we're just going to do new stuff. How about that? We'll give you 1 billion new stuff to complain about.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I really wish they would have followed through on that, since they'd already kind of committed. I get why they didn't, but to your point, again, we were talking about before we came on air. It just felt like episode 1 in 3D was more immersive. There were some moments in there where they were really kind of, giving you the Jaws 3D kind of thing where that's really dating myself. But yeah, giving you the Jaws 3D stuff where it's like right in your face and you're like, whoa, in your seat, the jump scare stuff. But then there were more ambient kind of things, more immersive things that they had done with it to really kind of give you that depth without necessarily making you feel like you were watching a 3D movie. So if you've not had a chance to watch or see the 3D version of Phantom Menace, it's great. But yeah, I really wish they would have followed through and given us the rest of them as well. So maybe, who knows, at some point, my understanding is they were well into production. So it's just a matter of whether or not they were finished. And if they weren't finished, maybe down the road, they decide to pick that up, right? I mean, 3D seems to be very kind of like cyclical in terms of when it becomes hot and popular, right? We had it in the 80s. It came back in the 90s. There was a period of there, I think you'd mentioned right around, was it Prometheus?
Yeah.
With the Avatar release, that kind of hyped it up again. And then it tends to die down and then we see a big flare up again. Maybe they'll try to catch the wave next time and bring out the last two as well.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. All right, so I've got a little slideshow that we can kind of go through here and talk about things. Now, in terms of the Star Wars Rebels, there's not really a whole lot that's been announced just yet. I mean, it's a 10th anniversary, so yes, we're going to get some celebratory type things. However, it's probably not, it's not to the tune of like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. We're not going to get any big kind of stuff that we've seen with like the original trilogy recently. But interesting enough, the main flagship title, the Star Wars comic, is doing some variants. And I've got right now on the screen, you can see this one here. It's got Ezra and Chopper. There's another one here. Let's see if this will, let me advance this and we can see that one. Yeah, so there's the Kanan and Zeb variant, I think, as well. So they've got a couple of these. Outside of this, nothing else has been announced so far, but I would expect that we are going to get something here at some point. Now, when it comes to episode 1, again, there's all kinds of stuff here. So they've got a new logo, and I'm pulling that up right now. This new logo is, I think it was first leaked on a little Lego set, which I have a picture of in just a bit. So you'll start seeing this on all of the merchandise, similar to what they've done with other anniversary logos that they've created or other just kind of general logos that they use for merchandise. This will show up in the corner of just about everything. But for those of you listening on screen, we've got the number 25 below Darth Maul and Kenobi, and this is right after Qui-Gon Jinn has died, and they're having a little battle. So it's a really kind of a simple piece. It's mostly all black and white with the exception of the lightsabers and Maul's face. But yeah, it looks it's pretty clean. I like it. It's a nice way to celebrate this.
Yeah, really nice looking design.
Yeah, and down here in the bottom right hand corner, you can see it. This was the first piece that was released already, so this is already out, or it's coming out very shortly. This is one of the battle droid tanks, so you see that. And then the other thing that they've got coming out as well is this 25th anniversary retro collection of the Phantom Menace. So this is a box set that they've got coming out. These characters should look familiar to anybody that grew up around 99, was collecting these figures. But this box, I think, is going to retail for like $60, and it's coming in the spring of 2024. Oh, by the way, these dates are like crazy fluid right now. In the week leading up to this show, as writing them all down, they change. So I apologize if some of this is not up to date. Please call it out in the chat, comment down below in the comments, however you want to do it, and give me the feedback. But yeah, this was changes. So I don't really have an exact date as from when I put this together. But in the spring, we should see this. Now, let me ask you, Ed, were you a big collector of Star Wars figures when the Phantom Menace came out, even though you weren't necessarily the biggest prequel trilogy fan?
My brother actually was a big collector of that, and he's like my little brother. So I actually ended up spending a lot of money on it, buying him a lot of those figures. I think I bought him like at least 3 of those. I definitely got him the Kenobi. I think I got him the Qui-Gon, and I think I got him. What's the droid again?
Which droid?
The battle droid.
Oh, the battle droid.
Yeah,
the one at the very end. Are you talking about the droid Dekaz? Like
no, the one at the end.
Yeah, that's the battle droid.
Yeah,
the B1 battle droids. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I spent a lot of money on those.
Yeah, and this was like a whole. It really was kind of like the second coming. At least they were trying to make it the second coming of 1978 with the release of all the original figure set. So there was a definite hype and madness around collecting just in general, Star Wars collecting in general, because we had a new movie for the first time in years.
Absolutely. And I feel like they were dipping their toe as far as like Toys R Us goes for a couple of years. Because I remember like a couple of Christmases before that, they were like reintroducing like the original trilogy toys.
Yes.
In Star Wars. And they looked a bit more muscular than they did.
That was the power of the Force. Yeah.
That's one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the original Han Solo. And you had Luke Skywalker, who was ripped with like a 6-pack, 8-pack, 10-pack, whatever it was that he had on him. But yeah, that was kind of silly. There were a lot of people that were collecting those. And now if you have those, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 figs, they're not really worth anything anymore because they made so many of them. But yeah, all right. So let's, I'm going to keep going through here. So Darth Vader, not much to say on this one. This has just been an ongoing series. Greg Pak is writing right now. Some really good stuff in here, but this is going to keep going through 2024. In addition to that, we've got Shadows of Starlight, which just wrapped up. I want to throw it in here just kind of, again, to plug the show that Lauren and I just did. There's 4 issues on that. I've got all 4 covers here. Really great. Again, it is required reading heading into Shadows of Starlight. And Charles Soule is a writer who's done nothing wrong, in my opinion, as far as Star Wars goes. So you can't go wrong with this particular series. On top of that, we've got the main title, which is Star Wars. That's going on. Luke is talking to a Sith. I'll just leave it at that. That's taking place between Empire and Return of the Jedi. The bounty droids, bounty hunters stuff coming out. We've got the High Republic Phase 3 that's kicked off. This is written by Captain Scott. And then we've got this Visions stuff that's coming out as well. So we've got Star Wars Visions as a comic, as you can see on the left-hand side there. That first one that's coming out. I'm trying to remember when that was. Let's see. I jumped way too far here. But yeah, the Star Wars Vision stuff, we should expect that. I think it's in the end of this. I think it's like in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. What's today? The 14th? So it's either this Tuesday or the week after that we should get this issue.
All I saw was this January. I think the 17th was the only 17th. Date, but I don't know if that's one of those fluid dates.
Yeah, it probably is. But yeah, you'll see that here very soon, which is exciting because, I mean, we talked about this, I think you and I already, but Visions was visually amazing. And Absolutely. It just made sense that stuff probably should transfer onto manga or comic books or graphic novels, whatever you want to call them. And here we go. We've got that opportunity kicking off. Also, we've got Star Wars High Republic Adventures, which is the comic series by Dark Horse Comics now, formerly by IDW. And this is being penned by Daniel Jose Older. So these will be issues that will come out again all through 2024. If you're familiar with High Republic Adventures, there's probably not a whole lot to say here. Now, this one I found was pretty interesting. So this is a Star Wars Thrawn Alliances. So what they've taken is the novels that were written by Timothy Zahn, and they've got Jodie Houser, who's everybody, you should know who Jodie Houser is. She's done plenty of Star Wars work in the past, but she's the one that's actually penciling. So they're bringing those novels into graphic form. I want your thoughts on this because I think Jonesy and I have talked about this over the years on the show. Like, it just feels like, yes, we love these novels, all these novels. So many of them are good and so many of them are really great, but they really could benefit from going into a comic book form and giving us those visuals. The one that stands out the most that I know we talked about a lot was the Phasma book. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to read the Phasma book. It's great. Delilah Dawson is the one who wrote it. And the book is phenomenal, beginning to end. But there's so many cool things that happen in there that really push your imagination to kind of visualize. But that's the stuff that I feel like would translate really well into comic book form and just be able to visually see that and confirm whether or not you got it right, which would be kind of fun. But, I don't know. What are your thoughts on moving books into comics? And is there anything that stands out that you'd be like, hey, I kind of want to see that?
Yeah, I think this is like great timing too, with Thrawn coming back in the Ahsoka series, that a lot of people who have just been, watching the movies and watching the TV shows have been like, and maybe they skipped Rebels. They were just like, oh, who is this blue guy? Right. I don't want to have to, how many novels do I have to, is there a comic book I can read? Here, right here. We have the comics right here.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, a good point to capitalize on that, right? Another way to introduce this character that they may or may not have seen in Rebels, but definitely have now seen, given he was part of the Ahsoka series. And as Jonesy and I will talk about a little bit later, this may be the beginning. We may be seeing a lot more of Thrawn coming up with the movies now and, the rest of the Dave Filoni-verse that's coming out. So good stuff. Looking forward to this one as well. Let's see. We've also got, going back to the High Republic, we've got the Escape from Valo. So this is Daniel Jose Older, Alyssa Wong have teamed up on this one. This is one of the I wouldn't call it, it's not a children's book, but it's the, the 8 to 12 range, which have been all great. Like, don't get me wrong. These have been really great stories and they're so fun to read. They're so quick to read. Laura and I will be covering these as well, but this is just diving deeper into phase 3 on that one. Dr. Aphra. So this is the comic series that we're all familiar with, our Star Wars archaeologist. She's the closest that we have to Indiana Jones in Star Wars. Okay, now we've got here we go with the Mace Windu. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Mace Windu City shirt, which I picked up at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago. I did this for Lauren, first and foremost, but then I also wore it because we're going to be talking about 2 things for Mace Windu. But this first one is coming to us on February 7th. And I do want to read this one just real quick and kind of get your thoughts on it. So it says, one of the greatest Jedi must stop an incendiary secret from falling into the wrong hands. Even in the years before the Clone Wars, Mace Windu was known for his discipline, determination, and combat skills. When a scientist's discovery threatens the balance of the galaxy, Mace is led down a treacherous path of mystery and action, introducing Azita Cruz, a pirate with a deadly secret who the Hutts and the Republic will stop at nothing to control. So it kind of sounds like we're getting a precursor, kind of maybe, I wouldn't call it an origin story, but it sounds like it's going to pick up, before the events of the Phantom Menace. What's your take on Mace Windu? How much interest do you have? And is this something that you would, run out and pick up? Because you got to have it all kind of thing.
Yeah, it's always felt like he was such an underused character, right? Like when he was brought in, it's like, and Sam Jackson was hot coming off a lot of Tarantino movies before the Phantom Menace, and it's like, okay, he's going to play a big part. He's going to be like this badass Jedi. And the first couple, I guess the first movie, he kind of just sat there,
yeah,
had a couple conversations, then got a bit more action in the second movie, and played a big role in the third movie.
For
and
sure.
you start thinking, well, we didn't actually ever see Mace Windu die. And I feel like online people have been pointing that out
Yeah.
a lot. Like, is he going to come back as some sort of like half cyborg, half droid, whatever, and avenge whatever in the latest series? Like he's somehow Mace Windu has returned. We'll get that line.
Right.
And I don't know. I just maybe Sam Jackson's bored and wants to do another movie. Maybe he's going to be in the Mandalorian movie, and they're trying to hype this up.
Oh my goodness! Get your tinfoil hats on because Ed's in a mood tonight. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I think Jonesy, Lauren, and I have all discussed this on the show about how there's been no body. And I think Jonesy is described, or at least he's kind of put it out there that he's gone, he's dead. I could go either way. And of course, Lauren is championing anything with Mace Windu, so I think she's in favor of him coming back. But, I think we've talked about this ever since, honestly, ever since Revenge of the Sith. We have talked about the potential of Mace Windu coming back because you never saw the body. Yeah, he fell down in Coruscant, but, he's a Jedi. And we saw what Anakin was able to do. You could argue that, yeah, maybe he was able to kind of, slow fall all the way down there, or maybe he took a couple, bumps and bruises. Maybe he ended up, like you said, for better or for worse, and someone gave him cybernetics, and he's now this crazy Jedi. I mean, we had theories out there, even when we were talking about the season 2 of The Mandalorian, when we knew there was going to be a Jedi that was coming back. I had been rumored there'd be a Jedi at the end of that episode, the season finale for season 2. Of course, turned out to be Luke Skywalker, but we had concocted this entire crazy theory around how it could possibly be Mace Windu and what that would mean for somebody like Luke Skywalker, knowing that, the relationship that Mace had with Luke's dad, and just, all the tension that was there. But it's always fun to think about this stuff. And I think you're right too. Like, he is a character that has grown, I think, in popularity over the years, believe it or not. There's a lot of people that kind of want to see more of him. Sam Jackson is such a charismatic person on and off screen in just about everything he does. So it's kind of hard not to like this guy in a lot of ways. But yeah, I'd be down with it too. So it sounds like we're going to get some stuff before it happens. Maybe we'll get into the head of Mace Windu a little bit more than we have in the past. If we don't get it in this, we will probably get it down in the book, which we're going to talk about here in just a bit. So I'm going to move on here from this one, and let's talk about, let's see, where are we? The Art of Jedi Survivor and Defy the Storm, which is another book coming out from Phase 3 of the High Republic. So Jedi Survivor. Well, actually, I don't know if I've ever asked you, are you a big fan of the art of books that have been released from Star Wars, or maybe even just they do them for everything else, right? I mean, there's stuff for like Ready Player One, there's art of video games, art of movies that come out all the time. You pick up any of that stuff? Does that interest you at all?
Yeah, it always looks like it's something that is very interesting to me. I don't know, not super familiar with it, but yeah, it's definitely things I've been interested in.
Yes, and it's really cool to watch, especially in Star Wars. I picked these up because, yes, I like the artwork and like to see all the different artists. It's not usually just one concept artist, right? They bring in a whole gaggle of these guys and they just start cramming stuff up on boards and either picking and choosing. And a lot of this stuff makes its way into these art of books. A lot of his stuff doesn't. A lot of it gets archived and it comes up, 10, 20 years later down the road, as we saw with the Ralph McQuarrie stuff. But what's always interesting to me with Star Wars in particular is nothing ever goes to waste, So you might see concept art in this game that they'll then pull and use in a movie, or they'll use it in a TV series, and it just kind of gets recycled in a lot of different places. So I picked this up because it's always fun to kind of have this and just kind of understand, where things potentially could go. There's always stuff in here too, at the very beginning, especially with the movies, when they're still early in the scripts and they're just more kind of, fluid ideas. these concept artists will seize that. They'll start drawing stuff up, and although it never manifests, it just starts to really make you wonder and think. It gets you kind of thinking about the what ifs and theorizing about the characters and what potentially could have been, which is where I think I love the most part of Star Wars, is just in that. That's why we do this show. But
yeah, I mean, you mentioned like the Ralph McQuarrie stuff. I feel like a lot of his designs end up showing up in Rebels, because I mentioned I've been rewatching Rebels. Like there was that other oh god, that droid, that like spy droid that kind of looked like the original R2D2 design, or not R2D2, C3PO design. And Zeb, I forget what character Zeb used to look like, but Zeb was like a Ralph
Chewbacca.
McQuarrie. Yeah, that was it. I can't remember if it was Han or Chewbacca, but like yeah, a lot of those, like I love how they just come back. And sometimes I always wonder, like, is there like an alternate universe, when the Marvel's always doing these multiverses where we do like Star Wars rebooted, but with a Ralph McQuarrie look. You do like a cartoon maybe of that with all those kind of drawings and all those designs, and just see where it goes that way.
Yeah. There's so many great stuff that'll get used here later down the road. So the Jedi Survivor book, that one's coming out on January 10th as of this episode. And this Eye of the Storm, or Defy the Storm, this is coming out on March 5th. So I think both this one and the Valo book are already out for the advanced reader copies. So we should be getting those. I think Jonesy got his in. Lauren and I will have ours here soon. So look for coverage of those things coming, especially from Lauren, but we'll see if we can't work them into the main show as well. Again, all this takes place a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon, the Inclusion Zone, the rise to power of Marchion Ro, and the Jedi trying to figure out how to contend with the Nameless and now the 4-7 lightsaber disruptor machine that they've got created. So they're in a bad place right now, man. They're in a super bad place. So we'll see where that goes. All right, moving along. Let's see, what else we got here? So there's a one-shot that's coming out. I skipped over Tales of Enlightenment. So this is from George Mann, another anthology book. This is what he's been known for. Honestly, he's done such a great job. Lauren and I have covered a lot of these, but we've got a Tales of Enlightenment that's coming out. Not a whole lot here. It's outside of, it's just a collection of the short stories, some of the short stories that have been released in Star Wars Insider. I expect there'll probably be something exclusive or something he created specifically for this book. But it says 6 stories by the Sunday Times bestselling novelist George Mann. So this will be out on March 19th. And then that day after, or probably around the same day, we'll get this one shot, which is Crash Landing. This is by Daniel Jose Older. Again, another Phase 3 comic that's coming out here. And this will follow Crash Angua, which is a new character. If anybody's familiar with Phase 3, you'll get to see him in that, as well as a whole cast of characters that Daniel Jose Older's known for making. Jango Fett. So we had the Jango Fett Age of Republic comic that came out. It was like a one-shot thing. Jonesy and I think we did a coverage, or we broke it down. We may have just talked about it, but this is an actual series. So this is coming out on March 20th, and not a whole lot here. It just says that the legacy of one of the greatest bounty hunters, Jango Fett, continues. A bounty to find, a mystery to solve, a treaty at risk. All this with Aura Singh in the mix, who's another Phantom. So this is where you can see the influence of the 25th anniversary. I don't know that we would have got a Jango Fett story had this not been the 25th anniversary, especially since we had Age of Republic. Jango Fett fan, up and down. How do you feel about him?
I feel like, any Mandalorian type stuff is just going to print money right now, right? So they're like, okay, have we done Jango in a while? 25th anniversary? Cool. We got, like the Mandalorian movie coming out. We got Boba Fett, the Boba Fett series. What was that, 2 years ago now? Mm-hmm. Like, anything like in that armor, if people just see it, they're like, oh, here's money. Yeah, I'll give you money.
Just start printing. It's going to happen. It's going to roll in. So let's see. And then here's the big one. So this is The Living Force, right? So this is the novel by, excuse me, this is coming out by Jackson Miller, right? So this is, anybody that knows what he's done in the past, you're familiar with. He's done a ton of stuff during the Legends series. But this one's going to be a very interesting take. Now, the only thing I would say about this, I don't want to get into the whole synopsis because it's like 10 pages long. But in short, let me read the last piece right here. So here's the last piece of the synopsis. It says, but the arrival of the Jedi leadership is not seen by all as a cause for celebration. Warring pirate factions have infested the sector in an increasing absence of the Jedi. To maintain their dominance, the pirates unite, intent on assassinating the council, and they are willing to destroy countless innocent lives to secure their power. That right there is kind of what's already happening in the High Republic. You got a bunch of pirates. They want to kill all the Jedi. They've kind of isolated themselves into a certain sector, and they're not going to stop at anything until they topple Coruscant. I mean, that's really kind of, no, I'm all joking aside, that's really what's already happening in the High Republic. So I'm sure these two stories were worked independently of one another. Because it's Miller, I'm totally down to read this book. I'm looking forward to it. And again, it just capitalizes on, what was going on prior to the Phantom Menace and getting to know more about that time and that era, especially when we're kind of on the heels, we're very close to the Acolyte releasing as well, which, is going to kind of butt up to that timeline. It's really going to be interesting to see how all of this kind of fits into, one kind of cohesive storyline, if it's cohesive at all, but I would expect it to be cohesive in some way.
Yeah, I mean, like they're always trying to make sure, the continuity is right? Like I guess a couple years ago when I guess, God, it's almost been 10 years now, when Disney bought everything, a lot of the continuity kind of got thrown out the window. And they've spent the last, I feel like 5 years or so, kind of like, okay, let's tie everything back together. This is one universe. This isn't like a million things. Let's just have one timeline, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine, guys.
Yeah, you're right. And they've done the same thing with, with the, I would say the inconsistency or, the lack of storyline that was connected between the sequel trilogy. I think they've done a pretty good job of kind of, you can call it retconning if you want. I don't know if that's I don't think that's the right term, but they've done a really good job of at least fleshing all that out and giving you more recontextualizing a lot of what happened in there. So it's easier. It makes the sequel trilogy more palpable now that they've gone back and done that. And so that's one of the things that Star Wars benefits from, is they can always go back and say, okay, here's what really happened. And here's how you can kind of make sense of it and come to peace with a lot of this stuff, even though, maybe they botched it in the release, or they had multiple writers that were kind of working from their own sheet of music, right? They can go back and fix a lot of this stuff. And so far, I think they've done a pretty good job of doing that. So to their benefit. All right, let's look at, so this is, again, that's coming out on April 9th. So that's The Living Force. Then we have the High Republic Temptation of the Force. No cover on this one. This is Tessa Gratton. Again, another Phase 3 book, so nothing to say there. But then going, again, here we go. Phantom Menace. We've got a hyperspace Qui-Gon comic series that's coming out. So this is, I forget who's writing this one. I don't think I jotted that down. But the synopsis on that one says, our story spans his life as a series of recurring events slowly ties together over the years to help Qui-Gon complete the puzzle of one of the Force's many mysterious cults, the Brotherhood of the Ninth Door. I don't know who they are. Or that sounds like a new group that they've created for the story. The Brotherhood's secret Force abilities could make them a great ally to the Jedi or a powerful enemy. Master Qui-Gon and his eager young Padawan learner, Obi-Wan Kenobi, must uncover their secrets before they fall into the wrong hands. So similar to what we got with Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, kind of a prequel storyline series of comics that's going to be dedicated to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this. There is an Obi-Wan we'll talk about too, but your thoughts on Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah, I always wonder when they release things like this, because I guess we kind of touched on it talking about the Mace Windu stuff, that if they're like, okay, if this book sells well, do we start doing a cartoon? Do we start doing, more? I guess they can't really do a movie at this point because Liam Neeson's just so much older than he was when he actually played him in real life. Sure. But like a cartoon, like something like Rebels or something like Bad Batch or something in the Filoni universe, just kind of a little bit more, a little bit before when they were doing. Oh God, what's the cartoon? The one before the cartoon before Rebels.
Resistance?
No, Clone Wars. Before Clone Wars, right? Like explore this area where basically where this novel is taking place, right? If they're like, okay, if this novel does well, maybe we get a cartoon out of it.
Yeah, we can't. You're 100% right. Like the thought, Disney is not dumb, right? They're going to throw this stuff out there, see what sticks, and we got to remember that the people that grew up with Star Wars, their Star Wars being the prequel trilogy, they're all in their 30s and above, and they have a lot of money now. and Disney knows that, right? So
We have
why
a lot
not?
of money now.
Well, okay, sorry, maybe not you, but most of them have money now. They have incomes. They've got disposable money. Yeah, they got kids too, but they'll put those to the side and buy Star Wars stuff first, as we all do. But they've got there's an opportunity here for them to kind of throw this stuff out there, especially on the 25th anniversary. And who knows? Maybe maybe there's already kind of this this new life with the prequel trilogy. So there's an opportunity for them to say, okay, maybe we do something like the Clone Wars, but we set it, in the events, between the Acolyte and the Phantom Menace. I mean, there's who knows what there is to explore there, but if there's anyone that can do it, it's going to be the group of people they have in there right now, and there's just so much opportunity to capitalize on that financially, I would assume.
Yeah, and we got some Qui-Gon, but not really very much Qui-Gon at all in Clone Wars. So that just opens a huge door for a lot of stories there, where his relationship with Dooku, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we got some stuff from the short story stuff, the anthology stuff that we got on there. There's a couple comics as well, but this is a lot of people want Qui-Gon. He's hugely popular, is always popular whenever you talk about him. So it's good to see that they're doing that. Jonesy did chime in and said George Mann is writing the Qui-Gon stories. So dude, sign me up. I think George Mann has done a pretty darn good job with all of his Star Wars IP so far. Lauren says more Qui-Gon is always needed, which I would agree with. Sorry, I missed this one. It says they're in the Battle of Jeddah, right? I don't think so, because Battle of Jeddah was. I'm not sure where that question was from. It wasn't one of the comics, if that's where it was. But we're going to move on just because we're running out of time here. But so we got these coming out. So what did I say? 7/23 Temptation of the Force right now is June 11th. July 23rd is the Qui-Gon's comic here that we're talking about. On July 23rd, we'll also see Beware of the Nameless. So this is another Phase 3 book. This is by Zoraida Cordova, who's done already one book during Phase 2. She's done a couple other stuff with Star Wars already as well. So nobody new, but she'll pick this one up here in July. Let's see, what else? And then after that, here we go. So we got Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss. So this is coming out on August 6th. Again, this is a novel. When I see The Glass Abyss, I can't help but think of the glass that he, crashed and went flying through, or, after he broke. So there's no tie in here. This takes place, I think, again, years before all of this. But this is right after the death of Qui-Gon Jinn. And it's really about Qui-Gon, or his relationship with Qui-Gon, the memory of Qui-Gon that lives on. Again, if you're somebody that's just embedded in the prequel trilogy, I can't see how you wouldn't pick this book up. We're getting so much of Mace Windu and Qui-Gon Jinn, that relationship, the relationship of the Jedi Order in general. All that stuff is going to be exposed in greater detail than we've ever had before. And so this is going to be another one of those. Let's see. Who was the writer on this one, Ed? Did I catch that, or did you catch that?
Oh,
let's see. I'm going to pull that up. I forgot to write that one down too. So my apologies on that one.
His internet is faster.
Yeah. I'm not even seeing it in the thing here.
Stephen Barnes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Circle gets a square. All right. Well, yeah. So don't think I'm familiar with his work, but I'm down with it. We'll cover this up at some point. Stephen Barnes is what Jonesy said. Lauren says the cover of Glass Abyss is so awesome. It is, especially if you like purple. Yeah. But I love the fact that it looks like the Jedi symbol, right? You can see the cloak on one side, and he's got his force power with the lightsaber going up. That is the Jedi symbol. So great play on use of the symbol there. Okay, let's see what else we got coming up here. So after Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss, we have another High Republic Phase 3 book. This is Tears of the Nameless. We're into September at this point. Sorry, let me go back one. September 24th, and this is by George Mann. So not a whole lot of information on this at all, which you would expect given, we're still 9 months away, essentially 8 months away from this one. Then we've got Hyperspace Stories Obi-Wan. So similar to the Qui-Gon Jinn series, this is the Obi-Wan comic that's coming out. I don't have a date on this one just yet. I didn't see one, at least when I did the show notes. I don't have a writer. I think all we've gotten so far is just the artwork, which looks like it's coming from the same artist that did the Qui-Gon series. But again, yeah, I mean, if you're an Obi-Wan fan, and at this point, who's not? I mean, he is one of the more beloved characters of the series, of the IP in general. Sorry. Okay, so Cecil Castellucci. I don't even know who that is for the Obi-Wan series, but that's who's doing it, says Jonesy.
He's a Canadian-American author.
No. All right. Well, we can't. She's halfway there. All right. And then we got the Acolyte. So that's everything we've got dates on. From this point on, it's kind of speculation, and tune into any one of the number of episodes that we've had here recently on the Waystation, or just in general where we've talked about when and where. But I expect the Acolyte to come out maybe in the summer, the very latest, the fall of this year, 2024. But it all depends on just how much of a wrench the strikes kind of threw into this one. So we've got the Acolyte coming out, and then we've got the list. I've got the actors that have been tagged. Carrie-Anne Moss is always interesting. Like I like just about everything she's ever done, and I'll love her forever for her work in The Matrix. Although I know she's done so many more things. But I don't know. Outside of that, most of these people I don't know, and that's not a bad thing because I always love to be surprised by some of these characters, some of the actors that they brought in here. But anybody stand out to you? Anyone else besides Carrie-Anne Moss that you're familiar with?
Oh, they've got what's his name from Squid Game.
Let's see, Lee Jong Jae.
Yeah,
the guy here in the top there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good at Squid Game.
All right. Yeah, Jodie Turner-Smith. Why does that sound familiar too? Yeah, I need to spend some more time looking at the cast list. And Charlie Barnett, that sounds familiar too. But yeah, we've got the most information on. Again, this is not what we're going to do in the show. Just kind of giving you a heads up that this is going to be coming out this year, taking place.
Manny Jacinto was from The Good Place.
Manny Jacinto. I never saw that one. But,
really good show. Really good series.
All right. So yeah, I mean,
actually, he's from grew up in the same city I'm from Vancouver.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A lot of Canadians, man.
School, actually.
We'll have to get that story after the show. Okay, let's see. And then on top of that, we got Skeleton Crew. The synopsis on that one, if anybody is unfamiliar with that one, Skeleton Crew follows the journey of 4 kids who make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet, then get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy. Finding their way home and meeting unlikely allies and enemies will be a greater adventure than they ever imagined. And so this is Jude Law, a number of kids. I think we've got 3 kids that are not in CGI costume, and then we've got another one who is the elephant species, which I always forget the name of. Yeah, so this one, again, I'm expecting this one to be after Acolyte, so it would probably be the fall at the very earliest, likely in the winter of 2024. And that can still get pushed back. Like I said, we just don't know really what the impact is. I've heard people say, oh, it's now 2025. Whatever. It's going to come out when it comes out. And clearly we've got a ton of Star Wars stuff, as you've seen here already.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel too bad if they didn't rush it. Just let them write, let them do their job, let the stories breathe. We get them when we get them.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Learn the lessons that they didn't seem to learn with Marvel. Don't just throw everything out as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. We've got Star Wars Outlaws. Don't think this one's got pushed back here. I think it was supposed to be out last year, or I've heard it 2025 now as well. I don't know if that's a rumor or official. I just seen it in the Twitter feeds and kind of kept on scrolling. Didn't really dig into it because I'm like, yeah, whatever. It'll come out at some point. But yeah, you can expect this one, to come out here at some point. If not, it'll probably be later this year. This is supposed to be the open world kind of Star Wars game, our first open world or open-ended world kind of Star Wars game. So Jonesy and I covered this one already, I think. We played some video, speculated on it, that sort of stuff. So you can go back and look at the past issues or past episodes on that one. Then we've also got coming up this year, season 4, The Bad Batch. We don't know anything about this one. We know it's the final season, and that's just about it. So we'll have to see, where this comes out and how this kind of wraps up, and if any characters are carried over beyond that. And then lastly, which is the comic relief of all of them, which is Star Wars Hunters, because this game has been in development forever, and I think it's already been released in Europe, as we've talked about. We're still waiting for the North American release, but this is the what is it called? It's kind of like Fortnite, right? The battle. What's the name of that genre of games? I forget it.
Free to play, player versus player.
Well, it's a PvP. Yeah, it is PvP. It's a first-person shooter, but it's
arena combat.
Arena combat. Thank you. I was trying to think of the right term that this genre of games has kind of fallen into now. But arena combat. So similar like with Fortnite, you go around. You got a bunch of people. It's a battle royale kind of thing, and everybody against everybody. Your teams, 2-on-2, 4v4s, whatever. Rankings and all that stuff. It looks great. I had a lot of fun playing it at Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago when I got my hands on it, was able to play it, had a good time with it. I just don't understand why and I have not looked into it either. Honestly, there's probably a very valid reason, and they probably announced it a million times. I just don't know why it's still not out. I bought an entire Switch just for this stupid game, and that Switch is still sitting there doing nothing but draining power because it's always charging and not doing anything else.
You get some Mario Kart or something, man.
I know. Yeah. If I had more time, I think I would invest more into it, but it's just a time thing. And I just picked up Baldur's Gate 3, and that seems to be consuming my life now on top of that. So no room, man.
The beauty of Mario Kart is like, it's not, you don't have to play it the entire day. You can play it for like 10 minutes and you're good.
Yeah, right. Pick it up and get out of there. Oh, look at this. Play Animal Crossing on your Switch. So Lauren's an avid Animal Crossing fan, and I have not dipped my toe into that one. Those games, though, like, I just know me. I'm going to get addicted to it, and then you'll never see me again because I'm going to be playing Animal Crossing. So I think that's it, though. I mean, there was a lot there, and I know we kind of blitzed through a lot of it. But there is a lot of stuff that is coming out, and that's just what's been announced, right? We know that as the months go on, we're going to get more and more stuff that's been in the works, stuff that's going to get released. We're going to do a whole show here in just a second about something that we weren't talking about just even 2 weeks ago, right? With the Mando movie. So, all this stuff is, again, very fluid. You can bet that some of these timelines are going to change, the dates are going to change, but the long and short of it is there's a lot of Star Wars for 2024, and a lot of it does seem to be focused around characters or events in and around the Phantom Menace era, which I think is going to be good. And looking forward to it, man. There's going to be a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, and I don't think we even touched on any toys or any, collectibles, and there's just going to be a stupid amount of that this year.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, anything that's going to be related to the Phantom Menace, like I said at the beginning, they're going to stamp that little logo on there. They're going to put it out there, and it'll sell, especially knowing the audience that they're targeting right now. So.
Yeah, what's the point of making a logo if you're not going to use it?
Exactly.
Stamp that on a whole bunch of toys. Get that out there.
We learned that from Spaceballs. Merchandising, where the real money's made. Well, cool. That's it. Hopefully we got everything. If we didn't, let us know in the chat or let us know down in the comments. Would appreciate you guys chiming in on that. Make sure you like this video. Also, I've been doing a lot of research on how to get our get us up in the algorithms, and liking this episode, even though you're watching it, like it. It helps. And then throw a comment down below. It can be anything. I don't care what it is. You can say we're dumb. You can say you love us. Comment on what we got wrong. Feel free to do that. All that helps us to get up again as part of the algorithm stuff. So definitely appreciate you guys doing that. If you guys are interested in checking out all our videos, head out to cantinacast.com/YouTube. Like and subscribe as well to the channel so you don't miss an episode when we go live or release anything else, including like Jedi Novel Archive, which is what Lauren does for us on all the stuff that's comics and novel related. And then again, Patreon is cantinacast.com/Patreon. And then finally, I want to say thank you to everybody that came out for the live show tonight. 80s Kid from the 90s, Music Train, Lauren, My Star Wars Guy, Sky B, Stephanie, Riss Bayless, Kathy Jones, Jorge Castro, and let's see, there was someone that snuck in there at the very end. One Up versus CPU. So I think I got everyone. If I missed you, my apologies. Definitely not intended. And I think that's going to do it. Ed, any final thoughts, any words of wisdom heading into 2024 as a man of seasoned wisdom?
Yeah. Don't walk 10 minutes in -32 weather just to do a podcast.
Well, at least you walked. Okay. I don't feel as bad. I thought maybe you drove and like we're,
Oh, so walking 10 minutes is better?
Well, I mean, come on. I don't know. Maybe if you live in a world of ice, maybe not. But yeah, I was thinking it'd be a little better. No? I don't know, man. I'm from Texas. I have no idea. I have no concept of what any of this stuff means. So
yeah, you thought 20 degrees was kind of cold.
Yeah, I was freaking out because we're at 23 and dropping. So yeah, it's all relative. All right. Hey guys, again, don't forget to stick around if you're a Patreon member. We'll be back here in about 10 minutes to do our kind of breakdown and discussion of the new recently announced Mando movie that we'll see here, hopefully in 2025, 2026. Until then, yeah, we'll see you guys next week on the Waystation. And again, thanks for being here.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good fun stuff. But I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what. So that's your disclaimer.